here with Real Freedom. You know, this episode of our Real Freedom Stories is going to be a little bit different. So recently we had an event called FreedomCon, and on there we had some wonderful guests that shared their stories and some of their tips and successes on their journey towards financial and time freedom. So this particular episode, we're going to pick up with Brian Carruthers, and he's going to share his story. He'll give his background on the episode and hear from Brian. We'll pick it up from the event. We hope you enjoy it. Let us know if you have any questions. So first up, we've got the wonderful Brian Carruthers here, who's going to share with us. So just a little bit of a background on Brian. So he was actually a former real estate agent and broker. He is well known in the network marketing space, and so he'll talk a lot about that. And then he's also authored a few books. So I know personally his most recent book, Untrapped, Freedom Manifesto, is a fantastic read. Previous to that, also Building an Empire, Making My First 10 Million. So that's a book, you know, there's a lot of folks out there that can't write that book, and Brian can. So, and then Money Mindset. And you guys can go to his website, briancarruthers.com, and read more about him. And welcome, Brian. If you want to go ahead and take it away, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Well, Vlad and Mike, I appreciate the invitation, and it's an honor to be here. I don't take it lightly, and I know that we've got quite a number of people that are watching live, and I'm sure on replay later on. And I want to just preface what I'm going to talk to you guys about today with the idea that this is not about me showing out or showing off. It's more so about me showing you. I actually just got back from my 50th birthday celebration. My wife and I, we went down to Mexico, and I don't know if anybody watches Bachelor or Bachelorette television shows. Well, anybody gets kicked off, they're invited to Bachelor in Paradise. Now, if you don't care about those shows, that doesn't matter that much, but they do it at this beautiful jungle beach resort down in Sayulita. And I always told my wife every season, I want to go there. Well, we actually went there just this last week. We had an amazing, amazing time. And I actually just did a big webinar last night for about 1,000 folks. And I just told them, I said, look, how awesome is it to be able to have the freedom to completely detach and unplug from the universe and just go away for 2 weeks and just completely enjoy ourselves. And when I come back and I get replugged in yesterday, my net worth grew by $500,000. My business grew while I was gone as well. And so a lot of times people go on vacation are like, they're worried, they're anxious. Am I losing business? How am I going to pay for all this? So there's a method to the madness. You got to design your life ahead of time and then live out the plan. You have to have a plan, and then you have to work the plan. Unfortunately, most people spend more time planning a 1 or 2 week vacation than they do planning their lives. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself, because I know most of you all are real estate professionals. So that was my life. My dad built one of the largest real estate companies on the East Coast back in the 70s. Colquitt Carruthers sold it to Merrill Lynch in 1981. He had 34 offices. After his 5-year non-compete ran out, he got the business going again, knowing my brother and I were going to get out of college one day and maybe join him, which we did. And so I jumped into the real estate game at 21. I was rookie of the year in my county. By the time I was 25, I was making 6 figures. This is me. By the way, you can see how long ago this was. This is back when we used to wear double-breasted suits. I used to have hair. You can see my name on the sign there. So I was all proud of our family company. But let me tell y'all something. I know what it's like to hustle and grind 7 days a week. You guys know in real estate, if you're not willing to be there when a client calls you, they're going to drop you and they're going to go find somebody else. So I know what this is like, right? This is my wife and my 3 boys. This is at our property that we own down in Turks and Caicos. We have a beautiful tip of North Caicos Island. Matter of fact, I've been, spending time being mentored. And look, I spoke on stage 2 years ago with Lou Holtz, Harvey McKay, Grant Cardone, Eric Thomas, Eric Worre, Richard Branson, Magic Johnson. It was an amazing cast of characters. And one of the things Lou Holtz said is the most valuable thing you're ever going to find in your life is a mentor. And I ask people all the time, who is your mentor? People are like, oh, my mom, my dad. No, those are your parents. Those are your parents. Who's your mentor? Somebody who's done great things in your chosen path and is willing to teach you and help you to accomplish greatness like they have. Well, I started getting around Robert and Kim Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I spent time, some of you all might not know who this is, but Paul J. Meyer is the grandfather of the entire personal development industry. He authored and sold over $2 billion of his own books and audio training programs. Matter of fact, when Paul Meyer passed away, people say, one day I'm going to be so successful, I'm going to own my own condo in the Cayman Islands. That's great, right? When Paul Meyer passed away about a dozen years ago, he owned 352 properties on Grand Cayman. He owned more property on Grand Cayman than any other human being. He gave away $450 million to charity while he was alive, and he still gives to this day with his estate after his passing. I've been very blessed and fortunate to not only be successful as a real estate agent, but I also became an entrepreneur. And there's a difference there, by the way. And as an entrepreneur, I fortunately made many millions of dollars, but I created time freedom for myself, which I didn't have when I was a real estate agent. And so I wrote Making My First 10 Million back in 2012. Then I wrote Building an Empire, which people all over the real estate industry are using, especially people that are building teams. Then I wrote Money Mindset to teach people what to do with the money they make, pay the least amount of taxes, know how to put overalls in their money. Or like Kevin O'Leary on Shark Tank, he says, I like to send my money out into the world and have it come back with friends. So I wrote a book about that. And then Grant Cardone and I have become great friends now. As a matter of fact, he had me on one of his shows not too long ago, back when I had a little hair in my head, probably a couple of years ago now. And he was talking about the need for people to get this information. And then last year, I released Untrapped, Freedom Manifesto. And today's talk, this seminar is about freedom. So I'm going to key in on this freedom concept because I don't know very many people who have true time freedom. The way I look at it is, if you have to trade your time for money, I don't care if you're a real estate agent hustling your next transaction, or if you're an employee going out and trading your time, punching a clock for a salary. If you have to trade time for money, you can never experience true time freedom. So that's why I wrote Untrapped, because most people don't know what real freedom looks like. They don't know how to create it. In my estimation, look, I've been an entrepreneur now for 25 years. And I've coached all over the world with regards to it, had great mentors, and now I've been mentoring many, many, many people. At the end of the day, you've got to have passive residual income so that your cash flow keeps coming in when you're not having to work for it, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that here today. And so, but let me just go foundational. Foundational. What is wealth in the first place? Okay, because building wealth is a decision. Success is a decision followed by daily choices. You might say, I want to be wealthy. That doesn't matter. Who doesn't want to be wealthy? Everybody wants, even the people who think money doesn't matter, deep down, they know that's kind of a false statement. Everybody wants to have wealth in abundance so they can do great things for people in their lives. Okay. So wanting something it doesn't matter that much. It's a decision. You have to decide, I am going to get wealth in my life. And then every day, the following daily choices that you have to make between doing the right activity to create the wealth or not doing it, which is a slight edge compound effect. I've got a good friend, Darren Hardy, who wrote a book called The Compound Effect. And you're not going to go out and eat an elephant in one bite. You're not going to get wealthy in one day. It's the little disciplines that you have to make every single day. There's little decisions. Do I eat a banana or do I eat a Twinkie? Do I drink juice or do I drink a Coca-Cola? Do I make a call to a prospect or do I watch TV? Okay, these are daily choices that we have to make. Now, what is your relationship with money? When Vlad and Mike asked me to talk on this webinar today, I always want to remember that most of us did not go to school, high school or college, and ever learn anything functional, anything that truly applied. I learned geometry, physics, social stuff. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff, but I never had wealth building 101. I never heard money 101. So a lot of people don't even realize that they don't even have a good relationship with money in the first place. Some people say, well, the love of money is the root of all evil. Yes, I know that's stated in the Bible. But at the end of the day, the way I look at it is it's doing bad things for or with money is the issue. Loving money itself is an issue. But how many of you all would love if somebody in your family got sick and they needed $100,000 to be able to go to Mexico to get the right treatment to save their life? How would you love to stroke that check and save a loved one's life? Would you guys love that? Of course you would. So I'm saying you love what money can do. You don't have to actually love money, but you need to love what money can do. Therefore, just cut it short and say, hey, look, I've got a great relationship with money. I love money for what it can do. And if you stop despising money, if you stop saying that wealthy people are greedy and greedy people are bad, look, it's not the case. But we've been conditioned and programmed by so many people for so many years to think that it's not a good thing to want to become a wealthy person. So once you've got the right relationship with money, that's why I wrote Making My First 10 Million. You're either repelling money or you're attracting money. And there's a lot of people that don't understand what wealth is. Wealth is a measure of time. So if you're making $5,000, if your cost of living is $5,000 a month, and you got $100,000 to your name, that means if you lost your income source today, you lost your job today, you basically can survive for 20 months before you are destitute and homeless on the street. At $5,000 a month, you got 20 months worth of money in the bank account at $100,000. So wealth is a measurement of time. It's not rich. Rich is different. Rich is like, wearing Rolexes and Louis Vuitton bags and eating out, surf and turf. That's more of a description. Wealth is a noun. Wealth is a measurement of time. Now, you might not feel wealthy if you only have $100,000 in the bank and you've got a $5,000 cost of living every month. But if you had 20 million in the bank and your cost of living is 5,000, you'll never out earn your money. So you will feel wealthy. There's also another concept of building wealth or servicing debt. Most people spend their whole lives servicing debt. That's why they never master the money game. Servicing debt, let me tell you what I'm talking about. If your cost of living is $5,000 a month and your income is $6,000, most people make the 6, they pay the 5, and they have an extra 1,000 and they go blow it. They're buying the Gucci handbags and they're going out and spending it on lavish things. And therefore, they're never building any net worth. And they will retire dependent on family, friends, or federal government because they never planned for retirement. They never built any wealth. So instead of servicing debt, what if you actually had a wealth building, what I call the money mindset? In that scenario, you make $6,000, the $5,000 in bills gets paid out of it, but the $1,000 that remains is what you were after the entire time. You weren't working for the 5,000, you were working for the 1,000. And if you focus on that one and you retain that money and you put that money away and you invest that money and you grow your net worth, now you're on the right track. Most real estate agents that I've worked with over the last 30 some years, guess what? They are transactional. It's all about getting that addictive fix. I need another commission. I need to sell another house. I got bills to pay. No, guys. You will always, I know people, when I stopped selling houses in 1998, some of the same agents that were selling houses full-time then, here they are 22 years later, and they're still selling houses, not because they love it. They're doing it because they have to, because they can't afford to stop. That is not how anybody wants to be in a position where they have to do something. So pay yourself first. Paul Meyer taught us this. Pay yourself 10% of every dollar. Pay it first into a separate bank account, not your operating account, not your checking account, but an investment account that you're going to go build for your future. The latte factor, I'm going to speed through some of this because I want to get to some more of the story. But look, sometimes if you want to get wealthy, you can do things, earn more or spend less. If you want to get there faster, earn more and spend less. So instead of spending $6 for a Starbucks coffee, what if you invested that money and built for your future? I'm going to give you an example of this. By the way, there's also an opportunity cost, which I'm just going to touch on this real quick. For my 50th birthday, this past week, for a couple of weeks, I actually flew first class with my wife. I never fly first class. And people are like, Brian, you're worth tens of millions of dollars. You've got that much liquid. Why would you fly coach? It's opportunity cost. Why would I spend an extra $400 for an extra 10 inches of leg room for a 2 or 3 hour trip when I can take that $400, the rule of 72, I can double that money at a 10% compounded return every 7 years? That money's going to double. So that $400 that I could have dropped on an extra little bit of leg room, I can turn that into $800. Then I can turn that $800 into $1,600. I can build my wealth by not squandering that opportunity cost. Now, for my 50th, you only turn 50 once. I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and do this in some style and make it, a little bit more comfortable. So I did it. I'm shifting a little bit because now I'm 50. I'm not going to give my kids a whole bunch of money. I'm not going to ruin them and make them not have to go out there and become somebody themselves. So, I've got to spend a little bit of it, but I also want my money to have a lot of impact. So I'd rather give my money to charity or invest it for exponential growth so I can do more with more impact later on in my life than to go out and spend it on a first-class ticket or a new watch or a new whatever, right? So, but here's the thing, guys. You can build wealth without even earning six figures. Some of you right now, maybe, look, I know some of the speakers on here do really, really well, but some of you guys might be like, hey, look, I only make 60 grand a year and we're kind of struggling right now. So how am I ever going to get wealthy? Well, first of all, decide that you're going to get wealthy, tell the world you're going to go do it, and then figure it out. Let me show you guys out of my money mindset book. I've got a chart in there that shows this. If you, for example, just find $5 a day, whether it be the latte factor, where you stop smoking cigarettes that cost so much money, you stop drinking coffee from a Starbucks or whatever. If you can find $5 or just earn an extra $5 a day, earn an extra $150 a month. And be like, well, how can I earn an extra $150 a month? There are thousands of ways to make a little extra money. There are thousands of ways. I help people every day make extra side money from a side business from home. But if you made an extra $5 a day, an extra $150 a month, again, at the S&P index, average return over the last 50 years is 10%. At 10% return, you're looking at $30,000 10 years from now, just putting away $150 a month. 20 years, $114,000, 30 years, $341,000, in 40 years, you've got almost $1 million. You become almost a millionaire with $150 extra a month that you invest properly. What if you had $300 a month? Look what that turns into. Almost $2 million in 40 years. You might say, well, I'm too old. I'm 60. I'm not going to live to 100. Well, let's say you got 20 years to go out and build up for it. Well, at $300 a month, $230,000. What if you have $600 a month? I tell people all the time, if I can show you how to work in a business project with me, and you can make an extra $600 a month on the side, would that matter to you? Would that help your life? You're like, I'm at $600. Some people are like, heck yes. Some people are like, I'm not sure if it would move the needle. Watch it move the needle here. I can show you how to take that $600 a month, invest it at 10% return, and in 10 years, you got $124,000. 20 years, $460,000. 30 years, $1.3 million, and in 40 years, $3.8 million. And you can look at some other examples here. You take a look at what if you had $1,500 a month, or what if you had $3,000 a month? You can become a multi-millionaire if you take that extra cash flow, whether you saved it or you earned extra, and you invest it properly. Again, you don't have to be Warren Buffett. Matter of fact, Warren Buffett tells people, go buy an S&P index. Go get like the VOO, Vanguard S&P index fund. You just put the money in it and forget about it and let it do what it has done for 50 years. Just want to give you guys a little insight on that. Taxes, make sure you're putting away at least 20% as it comes in so that you're not caught flat-footed without having the tax money when the time comes. Pay it on time and use all the tax advantages that you can to your advantage. Okay? Look, at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business, you've got access. Look, instead of having a job, if you're a W-2 employee, you make this much money, you pay income on this much money, income tax. But if you're an entrepreneur, you make this amount of money, you take all your deductions, and then you pay taxes on the remaining smaller amount. It's just smart. That's what smart people do. Robert Kiyosaki says it's more important to grow your income than cut your expenses. It's more important to grow your spirit than cut your dreams. He also said financial freedom is mental, it's an emotional, it's an educational process. And I can tell you, when I became an entrepreneur on the side from real estate, I was in my 20s, and I engaged in this process as he talks about here. And through that process, yes, I've made a lot of money. Yes, I've retained a lot of money. Yes, my net worth has really elevated and grown big time. But one of my friends he said this many years ago. He said, don't make $1 million for the money. Go make $1 million for the person that you had to become to make the $1 million. It's pretty profound, isn't it? And the person who I am today, talking on this webinar with you, I'm a different guy than I was when you saw me in that real estate picture on the cover of the Washington, business magazine right there. So knowing that you need to make a change is not enough. You got to have the guts to go out there and do it. Now, Robert Kiyosaki talks about everybody lives somewhere. Everybody lives somewhere in one of these four quadrants. You're either an employee trading your time for money. And if you're doing that, you're never going to have time freedom because you're always having to trade your time for money. So maybe most people say, well, okay, well, if I'm not going to get freedom there, I guess I want to be self-employed and not just be an employee. Well, okay, great. You become a self-employed, but now instead of having a job, you own a job. And if you don't show up as a self-employed person, as a traditional business owner, then your business isn't working, right? So you still are owning a job. You're still tied to that time clock. And so, I don't care if you're a $100 an hour massage therapist, if you're a $400 an hour attorney, or you could be a surgeon who makes 20 grand per surgery. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So people start realizing, okay, on the left side of this equation, as an employee or as self-employed, you're not going to find freedom there. So people start to realize when they grasp this, that I want to be a B or an I quadrant person. I want to live in the B quadrant, a big business owner, where you got leverage, you got a lot of people that are working for you. And when you've got a lot of people that are making money for you, now you got a system that's creating your cash flow. So you got the cash flow comes in whether you're working or not. That's super important, right? And then once you've got a B quadrant business throwing off cash flow, then you can become an I, an investor, where your money is now making you money. Like I said, so I go to Mexico for a couple of weeks. And as I'm down there, my investments grew by over $500,000. My cash flow from my main business that's got residual income came in to the tune of $100 and some thousand. So at the end of the day, change where you live. Go from being a salesperson chasing commission deals to becoming a B quadrant business owner. I cannot stress this enough, you guys. And why recruit? And again, I don't care if you're recruiting to a team in any kind of a real estate brokerage, or if you're building a real estate office or a company. Why recruit is because you want wealth and you want freedom. And I don't know very many wealthy agents who got wealthy as just an agent getting paid on only their transactions. And guys, I know many thousands of agents. I don't care if you're doing $500,000 a year in agent commission volume. I mean, if you're making $500,000 a year as a real estate agent, I mean, you're working your butt off to do it. How long can you do that? And hopefully you're practicing the wealth building money mindset, and you're taking whatever your net income, net profit from that is, and you're investing it. Because you guys know every January 1st is 1st and 10 all over again. Matter of fact, every transaction that closes is 1st and 10 all over again, right? So that's a little bit about my money mindset. I wanted to share that with you guys here. And, the last thing I want to do is, and Mike and Vlad, I don't know if you guys have any particular questions for my remaining few minutes that I have that I might be able to answer for you. But I can tell you that first you have to believe it. Well, even before that, first you conceive, then you believe, then you achieve. So conceive in your minds today. Conceive, like close your eyes and envision the life that you want to be living, not the life that you're living now. You already see it. You open your eyes, you're living it. Okay, some of you guys were stressed out. Vlad talked about the coronavirus situation coming around. And for a lot of people, their lives got dislocated. Their income was displaced. Some people lost their jobs. Some people, their income went down. Now, luckily for a lot of real estate professionals, some people's incomes went up. Like in my business with Legal Shield, for example, people need our services now more than ever. People need an opportunity to make some side income from home now more than ever. So for the last 7 months, my business has gone up consecutively every month for 7 months. We've seen great increases. So for some people, there's been a silver lining, but there's still a lot of anxiety out there. So my suggestion is really, conceive of a life and a lifestyle that you want to live. Figure out what it's going to take to get there, and believe that you can do it. And you're probably not going to do it alone. You need workout partners. You need mentors. You need the right model, the right path, right? Conceive it, believe it, and then go to work. One of the things that I always have to teach everybody is consistency is everything. It's not an apple. It's not 7 apples on Sunday keeps the doctor away. It's an apple a day that keeps the doctor away. You don't go to the gym for 10 hours on Wednesday and work out all day on Wednesday. You will die. You won't be able to move your muscles on Thursday or Friday or Saturday. You'll be stuck in bed in traction. If you're a workout person, you probably work out like an hour, maybe 3 or 4 days a week. So whether it's real estate, whether it's what I do with Legal Shield in the network marketing space, whatever you do, you just have to be more consistent than everybody else. And I have been so consistent. I'm really known for that in my space. I'm known as one of the more consistent people. And that's why I've made tens of millions of dollars, because the money follows the consistent rock in the river leaders. So Mike and Vlad, I don't know if there's anything I can, chat with you else, anything else I can add with you.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions that arose from what you were talking about. So Brian, I bought your Building Empire book, both in a hard version and the paperback version and an audio, because I learned just like different ways. Like if it's a manual, I need to have it in a book version. If it's like something that just like information, then I'll get it on Audible. And it just so happens that it's both, like that book. And so in that book, you go fairly deep in describing, and you touched on it, like that you were brought up in I'll just call it like an affluent family. Like your dad and your family is a legend. I'm in Baltimore, right? So like the first brokerage that I started was right outside Baltimore. So Carruthers is like, is a name all over the place. And, so you were blessed to be in that type of environment, where I would assert that most people actually grow up in the opposite of that, an environment that either hates money or like looks at money as a root of all evil rather than the tool that it is. So what advice do you have for the rest of us in terms of, okay, so you grew up like that, it doesn't mean that it has to run your life, like how to snap out of that thing?
For sure. Well, if this right here is the destination everybody wants to get to, you want to become wealthy, you could be coming from this direction, where you're coming from an affluent family, you already come from money, or you can be coming from this direction where you're on the other side of the tracks where you don't have that affluent background. Both are going in the same direction. Both want to go to the same destination. I could have gone either way. I know a lot of people, a lot of kids that were my age that came from affluent families, and they became derelicts because their parents basically enabled them to do nothing with their lives. They just had mom and daddy's credit card. And I also know people that had nothing and have become multimillionaires. I mean, you just look at Forbes and look at their backgrounds. Most of them did not come from, Donald Trump's dad had a lot of money, so he had a leg up, but there's a lot of people that didn't have that, So at the end of the day, it comes down to desire. If you have burning desire, you're willing to work and you're coachable, you can accomplish whatever it is. So I think what helped me, the advantage I took advantage of is I had the belief that it could be done because I saw it done. Right. So I knew what was possible. I'm like, if my dad did it, I could do it. But if you guys don't have look, Robert Kiyosaki wrote the whole manual on it, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His dad was a government worker. But his friend's dad was a wealthy millionaire entrepreneur. So he loved his own dad, but he also had his rich dad, his friend's dad, that he got to learn entrepreneurship from. So I would say, find your mentors, whoever it may be. It might come from inside of your lineage. It might come from outside. I've got people I've coached and worked with in my business, like Mike Humes from outside of Baltimore, from Maryland, was a mailman working for the post office delivering mail. He started working with me in Legal Shield, for example. He's made $7 million from Legal Shield. He's making $600,000 a year. Nobody in his family history, nobody had ever made six figures in his entire family. Now he gives away six figures every year to charitable causes. So Darnell Self, another guy, he worked at a mall. He worked at a mall at PG Plaza selling clothes as a retail manager. He's made $16 million with me. And here's another guy who didn't come from money. None of his people in his family. He was 3 months behind his mortgage payment when he found a mentor, found a business model that he could pursue, and now he's killing it. So I just think it comes down to, you can make excuses for anything. You can say, oh, Brian had a family that had money and I didn't, so therefore, woe is me. I'm destined for failure. That's a cop-out, and it's nothing but an excuse.
And I love the formula that you just described. You said, have the desire, have the mentors, and oh my God. And then there was a third thing that you said.
Coachable and willing to work.
And be coachable. Oh my God. That, like, for those of you who are listening, have desire, have mentors, and be coachable. That will solve most of your challenges. So I know, and this is about my kids. So I have 3 girls, all under the age of 11. And I know you have 3 boys, right? So like, how do you teach your kids about money and freedom?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple things. Since COVID, I've gotten back into sports card collecting. So when I was a kid, as a young kid in my, from age 12 all the way through college, I was really into baseball cards and sports cards. And I became a dealer. So I was one of the youngest dealers in the country. I was 15 years old going to card shows on weekends. By the time I was 17, I had an account with all the manufacturers, Top Fleer, Score, Donruss, Upper Deck. And so I learned about investing my money from raking leaves, cutting lawns, going to Ocean City, Maryland, and catching crabs and selling them steamed door to door. I mean, I did anything I could to make money. I was a little entrepreneur. I took that money and bought cards, and then I would sell cards for a profit. I would buy like a Mark McGuire rookie for 22 cents. And I held it because I thought he was going to do well. And when he did, I sold him for 20 bucks. So it's almost like buying stocks. You buy stocks in companies that you think are going to grow and they're going to appreciate. I did the same thing with sports cards and athletes. And so I learned about that. And that's why I think I've done well in the stock market investing world. Well, my son, who's now 14, I got a 3.5 and a 1.5 as well. So I got 3 boys, but my 14-year-old is in that perfect age slot when COVID hit. The sports collecting industry just went bonkers. People couldn't watch live sports. They couldn't gamble on sports. So now everybody kind of jumped into sports cards. They can get their sports fix. They can gamble on it by buying cards and hoping they go up and all that. And then the Last Dance with Michael Jordan came out as a documentary, which caused his cards to skyrocket. Then you got Gary Vee and these other, DJs and these athletes and rappers that are all getting into sports cards and talk about them on social media. And the values have gone crazy. So my son is now learning about things the way I learned it, which is awesome. He's doing the sports cards, investing, turning them for profit. And now he watches me with stocks, and he wants me to get him a stock account when he's old enough to have one. So, and by the way, one more thing for anybody, when you start having money and not everybody's going to be there like this, but you may come to a place where you've got a bunch of wealth. You got to figure out, what am I going to do? Okay, Vlad, you got 3 kids like I do. I don't want to ruin them. You don't want to ruin yours. I don't want to just say, okay, I got millions. Okay. So when I die, it's yours. They will basically, number one, they'll want me to die. I don't want that. Number 2, I don't want them to be like, oh, I don't have to go do much, because at some point in my life, I'm going to just inherit a bunch of money. So I set this up as a part of my estate planning with my law firm. I put an incentive program, a bonus program, kind of like network marketing wise. So I'm doing a matching bonus. So I'm going to match whatever they make. If my son Talon goes out and makes 40 grand a year, he'll get another 40,000 from my estate. If he goes out and makes $250,000 a year, he'll get an extra $250,000 from me. If he goes out and makes $1 million a year, he'll make $1 million from me. So if he wants to be ambitious, he can get more from me. If he wants to be lazy, he'll get a lot less. And everybody I share that with, even my law firm, are like, man, we've never seen that before. It just makes a lot of sense.
Brian, that does make a lot of sense. I am so looking forward to a minute that I can set that thing up for my kids. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, man.
As you got going, how did you balance your time and focus between selling to get paid today and building your business for freedom tomorrow?
Sure. Jim Rohn. If you guys don't know Jim Rohn, please Google him. Go read his stuff. Listen to his stuff. Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn. He was Tony Robbins' mentor, as a matter of fact. Jim Rohn always said, you work hard all day at your job to earn a living, but you should be working spare time, nights or weekends, building your fortune. So let's say you're a real estate agent chasing deals. What are your hours? Well, you probably don't have set hours. Maybe you have set prospecting time, or you're making calls to FSBOs or whatever you do. But in and around that, you just got a time block or find slivers of time to do something else on the side. So I had real estate full-time, 60 hours a week minimum. And then I got into Legal Shield. Another fellow real estate agent comes into my office one day. He tells me about a side project he was working on, selling this legal service for $25 a month. And when I saw what the services were about, I'm like, oh my God, it's no brainer. $25 a month. I can use them for speeding tickets and get my will done and handle writing letters for him. So I became a customer. He said, Brian, do you realize I'm going to get paid every month for the rest of your life, even if we never talk again, because you're now my customer? I get residuals on that every single month. I'm like, I couldn't unhear what I heard. I'm like, I want to do this business, because that was residual income. So in my spare time around my real estate schedule, I just started contacting as many people as I could to show them information about Legal Shield. And that started to scale. And my first year I made $248,000. Now, my disclaimer is not everybody's going to go do what I did with it. So there's no guarantee you're going to do that too. But in your spare time, scale it, the compound effect, like a side business that's got real passive residual income. I would not be a real estate agent and then have a side hustle that was also trading my time for money. 2 jobs are meant for 2 people. You got 1 job, and then you should have a side business that's got residual income attached to it. That is my 100% most important advice.
Wow. Well, I think that's mic drop, Mike. Brian, thank you. Thank you for your time, because for you, like you defined it earlier, for you, time is wealth. So thank you for sharing your wealth with me, with Mike, with all the other panelists, with all the speakers, with all the audience and everybody who will watch it later. Like, I can see that you have truly have taken on the advice from Jim Rohn of making sure that other people live the lives that they want.
Here's the thing, I'm not here to say I need more people that I can work with because I need to make my money off of anybody else. I'm in a give back mode. I want to see other people win and succeed. And, just the mentorship of just being around each other, I think it's just super valuable.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Brian.
I appreciate it, guys.
We'll see you when we see you. Thanks for your contribution.
You got it, guys.